Let's welcome in Michael-Shawn Dugar, who covers the Seahawks for The Athletic. He's also the co-host of the Man to Man podcast. Great to have you with us, Michael, and we appreciate you coming on, man.
I appreciate you guys having me on.
There he is. All right, listen, I want to hit you right away with the Seahawks rookies. They report to camp tomorrow, as you well know. What's your general take on how the Seahawks did in the draft?
Yeah, I think that we can get too caught up in what positions you take and where, with what pick, and that's fine. I'm a self-described draft nerd. I'm a football junkie. I get all into the numbers and everything. But at the end of the day, when I sit back and look, I say, did your team get better? Did your team get better over the weekend? Particularly relative to your division. You can't really have job security in the NFL unless you can win your division. The Seahawks just showed how important that is last year. So I think the Seahawks got better. I think Jadarian Price is going to be a starter in the NFL. He's going to be their starting running back week 1. He should be, at least. I think Bud Clark and Bo Stevens both have direct paths to being starters at some point. There's one guy ahead of them in each case. In Bud's case, that's Ty Okada, undrafted safety out of Montana State. And in Bo's case, that's Anthony Bradford, right guard, who's in the final year of his contract. Julian Neal is going to be a little harder, I think, to, get in there with Josh Jobe and Devin Witherspoon. But that's okay. When you're pick 99, there's probably some guys ahead of you at your spot. So otherwise, I think that they got starting caliber players, and I think they have a bona fide starter in Jadarian Price. Your first round pick should be a starter. So we can quibble over some positional value stuff, but ultimately I think the Seahawks, the defending champs, got better. While the rest of the teams in the division didn't get much better, arguably. So I think that's really good for Seattle.
Yeah, that's a good point there, and I want to talk about that in just a few. But it did seem like Price was the consensus first-round pick for Seattle going into the draft.
Yeah, I mean, when you're picking 32, it's because you won the Super Bowl generally, right? So your roster's usually pretty good. You don't have a ton of needs. You don't usually need a left tackle or anything. The only thing they needed was a running back because they let Ken Walker III go in free agency, and then Zach Charbonnet blew his knee out. And then Jadarian, you just watch the guy run. He didn't get a lot of carries at Notre Dame. He was splitting with Jeremiah Love, who went 3rd overall to the Arizona Cardinals. But when he did get the ball, he was very explosive. He had a few games where he had single-digit carries, but was still able to average like 6 yards a pop, get in the end zone a couple times. I think that, we got a clip of the USC game there. He went off against USC. He went off against Syracuse, went off against, I think, A&M as well. But just an explosive guy in limited action, and you need that in the NFL. It's just not the NFL where you're going to guarantee 18, 19 carries for one dude and he can get warmed up and feel how the blocks are going. No. You might get 8 carries. You might need to turn those into about 70 yards and a touchdown in today's NFL, unless you are Saquon, Christian, Derrick Henry, some of these like bona fide bell cow guys. But even then, Jahmyr Gibbs splits time in Detroit. Bijan Robinson splits time in Atlanta. It's just hard to be bell cow guys. So a guy who can take a few carries and do a lot with it is really valuable. And so I can see why it was so obvious that these two, Jadarian and the Seahawks, were linked going into the draft.
Loving the insight. Hey, before the draft, it feels like in a lot of these mock drafts, we didn't hear the name Bud Clark from TCU a lot. And then the Seahawks go out and get this young man, and then everybody just seems to be raving about Bud Clark. You mentioned it. He's got a direct path to possibly being a starter. What do you make of this pick, the TCU safety?
Yeah, he got on my radar late in the draft process, probably not until, earlier this month. But he makes a lot of sense. The Seahawks have, and Ty Okada and Julian Love, they have two like hard-hitting, play near the line of scrimmage, box safeties, quote unquote. Kobe was like a rangy guy, more closer to Earl Thomas than a Cam Chancellor in terms of style and how he's deployed in the scheme. So they needed someone who could just play center field, be on the back end, get near the ball. When Kobe Bryant left Cincinnati, he was one of the greatest players in Cincinnati history at getting to the ball. I think he had like 45 pass breakups or something. Bud, I believe, had like 15 interceptions at TCU. I mean, and at least 20 pass breakups. Like, this guy gets around the ball whether he's catching it or not. And that's what the Seahawks needed. There's not a lot of guys in the Seahawks TV room who are just racking up interceptions. Kobe led them the last couple seasons. He's a ball hawk. That's why the Bears gave him $40 million. So Bud is a good replacement for that. And just Bud's attitude is great. We're all old enough to the point where now we got guys who grew up watching the Legion of Boom. Now, Bud said he patterned his game after Cam Chancellor. Now, Bud's only like 188 pounds, which just shows you the impact of somebody like Cam. Even if you're not 220 or 30 pounds, you still got guys wanting to grow up and be like him just because of how he played. So I think between the physical, skills of being able to get to the ball and just the mental makeup of idolizing a Seahawk, a kid who grew up in Louisiana, no less, I really like the Bud pick.
Yeah, he's going to be fun to work with, I think, a little bit, too. He seems like a fun soundbite, too.
Listen, man.
Yeah. Those guys, Julian and Bud were just some of the greatest draft calls we probably ever. That was my 10th draft. The 2026 was, and those guys might have just cracked my top 5, Julian and Bud, back to back.
I was going to ask you that. Most of those draft calls, when you guys are all huddled around the table there and you're listening to a speakerphone and you hope these guys say something good. Man, between Julian Neal, the cornerback out of Arkansas, and Bud Clark, those guys, they did kind of light up the room, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they had this perfect mix of confidence and humility, and that's hard to find. And the person that usually exudes this in a way that I can really appreciate is Jackson Smith-Njigba. Like, Jackson knows he's the best receiver in the league. He's been thinking that since he was like 3, and every step of his career he keeps showing that. He's one of the best players ever in high school football, ever. He's one of the best receivers at Ohio State ever. He's already one of the best Seahawks receivers ever, but Jackson does not go around just telling you that. He'll make it subtle, he'll hint at it, but then he'll go back it up, and then Jackson will also be the first one to tell you that football is the ultimate team sport. Julian and Bud kind of give off the same energy. Julian a little bit more aggressive with telling you how great he is, but then you go turn on the tape and you watch him at Arkansas, and it's like, oh, okay, that's a guy who's backing that up, who's showing you that he does like to hit, he does like to get the pads popping. Not every cornerback wants that, and it's a rare trait, and the guys who want it, I feel like, can make up for the fact that they're not super fast. Julian reminds me of Michael Jackson, the cornerback, not the guy that starred the new movie. Michael Jackson, who was traded to Carolina a couple years ago, now starting for the Carolina Panthers and playing really well. Mike ran like a 4.45 40-yard dash coming out of Miami. That is not great, but Mike loved to tackle. He just loved to hit. He told me once, I'm not going to be in the league long if I don't go down there and hit somebody. And Julian's the same way. I believe he ran 4.49 in the 40-yard dash at Arkansas. Again, that's not fast, but you can make up for that if you like to be violent. So it's another reason why I really like that pick. The speed is why he was available for pick 99, but the mental makeup is why he can outplay that draft slot.
Hey, we saw the Seahawks trade up to get Iowa guard Bo Stevens in the 5th round, Michael. But, you've been covering this team for a decade. You know that back in the day, they didn't reinvest in that offensive line too often. But it seems to be the trend in recent years that they really want to bulk up front. And we've seen the results of that offensive line and how good they've been.
Yeah, I mean, scouts will tell you, scout the player, not the helmet. And that's a generally good rule. But I think you can break that rule in some cases. If you are just scouting a guy at receiver who went to Ohio State, that's probably safe. Like, they're just churning out just stud receivers over the past half decade plus, right? And so Iowa linemen are falling in that bucket as well. Iowa tight ends, Stanford tight ends. For a while there, Alabama running backs fell into that bucket as well. Just, hey, if this guy's halfway decent, he played at insert school here and he plays this position, we could probably just roll the dice on that guy and give him the benefit of the doubt. If he was available to us in the 5th round, chances are he has some physical drawback, short arms, stiff knees, something not very athletic. But if he's coming from insert program here, you can kind of give him more benefit of the doubt than some other programs. And that's been bared out. North Dakota State is one of those programs now. You got a lineman from North Dakota State, he's probably going to be pretty good. They're churning them out at the same rate, as schools like LSU and as Bama. So just as soon as I heard his name in the pre-draft process, I'm like, oh, there's another Iowa lineman? Let me look at this guy. And then you go watch him, and he has that same type of attitude as, if I was to use a current player, A.J. Barner. A.J. Barner just loves the violent part of football. He's near the sideline with the ball. There's no chance on God's green earth that A.J. is going to go out of bounds. He's going to lower that shoulder and go into the defender and get up and feel great about it. And while Bo probably shouldn't touch the ball, it just has that same type of attitude where it's like, no, I want to take the guy in front of me and move him off his spot against his will. Like, he gets a kick out of that. And not every lineman gets a kick out of that. I've been doing this for a little bit now to know that that's a pretty unique trait. And I can see with all these first 4 picks, guys, Bud, Jadarian, Julian, Bo, like, I can see very easily from talking to them and watching a little bit of their film, I can see why John Schneider was like, those guys are Seahawks. It's Mike McDonald gets asked, okay, what type of player are you looking for that fits the culture? And it's such a broad question that he doesn't give a great answer. But you can see it. When you see it. When I heard these guys, watched them play, I was like, oh, that's a Seahawk. I can see why those guys got their names called over the weekend.
Yeah, and you're going to watch them practice this weekend. Rookie camp starts Friday. Saturday, Price is going to have a press conference tomorrow. Michael-Shawn, when you look at what John Schneider did during this draft, running back check, line check, cornerback check, safety check, got them all. A lot of people went into this draft thinking the Seahawks needed an edge rusher. Is that something, as you look at this roster, that you think John Schneider is going to still need to go out there through free agency and try to get one before the season gets rolling?
Yeah, absolutely. I was one of those people who went into the draft thinking, all right, bolster the pass rush. You lost Boye Mafe. That's fine. He got $20 million from the Cincinnati Bengals. Congratulations to the whole Mafe family. That's a lot of money. Go draft someone or sign someone in free agency. The reason that the draft became where everyone was turning their attention to is because they didn't sign anybody. They didn't. And so if they had signed someone, then maybe I wouldn't have focused so much on edge rusher in the draft. So I think that's a huge position of need. Now, I mean, you can hear me say that and say, well, Mike, who else did we lose? Well, no one. Derek Hall's still here. But Derek Hall's in the final year of his deal. Uchenna Nwosu is in the final year of his deal. And I believe he turns 30 years old in December. DeMarcus Lawrence has a couple years left on his deal, but I believe he turned 34 yesterday. And you can play defensive line into your 30s, but if you're the team, you got to start, looking to invest in that a little sooner. So at least invest in those replacements. So I think that they need to trade for someone, maybe look at the veteran free agent market. I know they had Dante Fowler Jr. in for a visit. Dante has spent multiple years with Aiden Durde. They spent a year together in Atlanta. They spent a couple of years together with the Dallas Cowboys. So the relationship there would make that a fit. Dante's on the other side of 30 as well, but you just need more bodies in the building, I think. And guys, it wouldn't surprise me. Over the last few years, we've seen John go get Leonard Williams at the trade deadline, go get Ernest Jones IV at the trade deadline, go get receiver Rashid Shaheed at the trade deadline. It would not surprise me at all if around October we're looking around and saying, what pass rushers can John go acquire for a second-round pick, a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick? I have my eyes on a guy like Kayvon Thibodeau from the New York Giants, who I believe is in the last year of his contract as well, for first-round pick in Charles Cross's class. So maybe the Giants, after drafting another defender high, maybe they're like, hey, we're 2-4 at the deadline, 2-5 or whatever. John Harbaugh thing ain't going great. Let's send Seattle give us a second or third round pick for our guy. He's the next Rashid, Ernest, Leonard guy that go get the deadline. So yeah, edge is a need, I would say, and I think that it's something they'll be looking at all the way into the season if they don't make a big splash before the start of the regular season. Great stuff
on the Seahawks. I'm going to throw an audible at you, and I'm kind of putting you on the spot here. This is to help us out for later on in the show. Our producer, Joel Knipp, is a very proud Washington State Cougar. I know you love your Cougs as well. When I would say greatest Cougar quarterback of all time, who would you throw out?
Oh, man. Well, it's tough now because you can, in college football, not as much as like in the NFL, you can juice the numbers based on the system.
Sure.
And I kind of see that watching all this college film now. You get these. You got systems like Navy, and you got systems like the Air Raid, but I think it comes down to who was your era. I'm class of 2014, so I had like the Luke Falk, Connor Halliday era. I mean, it's hard to top it's hard to top Luke. For me, it was just so much fun watching him. But I think like the best individual season, the one that sticks in my heart, is Gardner Minshew.
Okay.
The 2018 season, I got back from London that year the Seahawks went. I booked a flight straight to Pullman for game day, and was there. Like it's going to be hard for anyone to be better than 2018, specifically that year. Gardner Minshew. I think we won 11 games that year. I think it's most in program history. Won the Alamo Bowl over Brock Purdy's Iowa State team, I want to say. So, yeah, just a great that right there is one for me. There may be better numbers, guys who play longer, more touchdowns, but yeah, it's Gardner.
Yeah, you're helping my case for later on the show. I appreciate it. Thank you.
That's interesting though that you take it from that era, and I mean he was certainly one of the more entertaining on the field, and is certainly behind the mic. Gardner Minshew is a great character. So, listen, man, we appreciate you coming on, Michael. We appreciate you taking the time for us and giving us your insight on the Seahawks. Looking forward to all your reporting throughout the season. Thanks a lot, man.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. And go Cougs.